We're very honored and pleased to have Margaret Kimberley be our next speaker. She is the co-founder, editor, and senior columnist at the very great Black Agenda Report. She is the author of Prejudential: Black America and the Presidents. And she has a leadership role in the Black Alliance for Peace and United National Anti-War Coalition. Margaret, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I first want to thank Band Killer Drones for inviting Black Alliance for Peace thanks, to participate in this press conference. I'm very much honored to represent Black Alliance for Peace and to speak on behalf of Daniel Hale. I recall the first time that I heard about Barack Obama's drone kill list. It was no secret exposed by the media. The Obama administration leaked the story to the New York Times as part of their 2012 campaign strategy. It was seen as a boon to his re-election effort, bragging that the president could decide who would live and die based on his whim. He made good on what he thought was good publicity by killing American citizens Anwar al-Awlaki and his son Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki in Yemen via drone strikes. They were not charged with crimes, but no one in Congress or the corporate media pointed out the inherent dangers of this policy. Even Attorney General Eric Holder claimed that constitutional rights to due process were null and void if a president said so. Holder said, due process and judicial process are not one and the same, particularly when it comes to national security. The Constitution grants due process, not judicial process. Daniel, that's nonsense, of course. There's no legal precedent for what he said. Daniel Hale is being punished for doing what the Attorney General and others failed to do: defend legal rights and expose government wrongdoing. And now he awaits sentencing in the Eastern District of Virginia, the notorious hanging court for whistleblowers. We can thank Obama for criminalizing whistleblowing. He prosecuted the previously discredited Espionage Act and used it more often than all of his predecessors combined. Trump continued the policy, and Biden once again proves that there is more continuity than difference among US presidents. And so we are here today on behalf of a whistleblower who's been criminalized for revealing what the state doesn't want us to know. Black Alliance for Peace has a particular interest in the use of drones in Africa, part of the US Africa Command, known as AFRICOM. BAP's signature campaign, no compromise, no retreat, defeat the war against Black African people in the US and abroad, includes among its demands shutting down AFRICOM and the 800 plus US and NATO bases around the world. We know there are drone bases in Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Niger. Only a few African nations are not involved in AFRICOM and are therefore under the control of the US military and are not truly sovereign and independent. AFRICOM has increased instability. Of course, that's its goal, to increase the US presence at the expense of other nations' rights. Violence is a feature of the system. It is definitely not a bug. One of the reasons that Daniel Hale publicly denounced drone programs was to expose the wanton killing taking place. Wedding parties, funeral parties, public gatherings of any kind were at risk of drone attack. And anyone who was killed was called a combatant or an insurgent or given some other name, which implied that the person lost a right to live if killed by the US. Hale is paying a big price because he wanted the world to know what the US does. But let's not be confused about the prosecution. Anyone going before the Eastern District pleads guilty. And that's the only wise legal recourse, because whistleblowers have no legal rights. No defense is allowed. Not First Amendment rights, not wanting to inform the public. Juries are not even allowed to hear these words. I remember growing up hearing about show trials in the Soviet Union. And here we are in the United States with exactly the same thing, hoping that Hale is sentenced to a mere 10 years. In exposing the drones, Hale did not just expose military policy, but the concept of American exceptionalism, the idea that the US can invade, sanction, or use proxies in order to supposedly benefit people around the world. He proved that these notions are nonsensical lies. Drone programs are just one facet of US foreign policy and are used to silence anyone who thinks about revealing the inner workings of the government. Cruelty is the point. If the dissenters are not punished, the whole system might be at risk. Whether he realized it or not, Hale exposed why the military budget must be cut in half. That is another BAP demand. The $750 billion budget is 60% of all discretionary spending, and therefore deprives people in this country of their right to live with their needs met. I recall being in Washington and seeing advertisements in their metro for Raytheon and McDonnell Douglas. The welfare system for the military-industrial complex requires persecution and prosecution. Its existence is at risk if whistleblowers are not given the most draconian punishments possible. That's why we bear witness for Daniel Hale and speak up for him, because he cannot speak up for himself. Thank you very much.